Welcome to EcoAfrica, the Pan-African environmental show packed with great stories, background information, and good ideas on nature and environmental issues from Africa and Europe. I am Chris Alems, coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria, and with me is my charming co-host, Sandra Kahomuza in Uganda. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Chris, and I am really looking forward to today's show and especially to our very first segment on the power of women in Ivory Coast. I am Sandra Kahomuza Twinovideo, right here in Kampala, Uganda. And here are some of the other topics that we'll be looking at on the program. Tractors are changing farmers' lives in Rwanda. The French capital keeps its cool despite rising temperatures. And Ghana has started to conquer its mountains of waste. How much do you think a group of women is capable of achieving? You may be amazed to see what communities in northern Ivory Coast are accomplishing through collective action for the environment and beyond. Now, we've piqued your curiosity. Here comes the women of Nanka Kumina.
A quick check to ensure they have enough provisions, then these members of a women's cooperative set off on a 15-kilometer journey. The terrain in this part of Ivory Coast can be quite rough, especially during rainy season. But even swollen rivers can't stop the women. Upon arrival, they collect nuts from shea trees, which they'll turn into shea butter. It is used in cooking and cosmetics and sought after on the world market. But the women find scenes of devastation too, even though this is a protected forest. Farmers have cut down trees to plant fields or strip them to sell their bark. In traditional medicine, shea bark is used to treat malaria and stomach aches. But without bark, the trees dry out and die. Many of these women once sold tree barks too, but now shea nuts provide them with a more environmentally friendly source of income.
Since we joined the cooperative, we've completely stopped cutting bark. We used to cut a lot. Sometimes we even hurt ourselves while removing it. And without their bark, the trees die. So now we do everything we can to protect the trees.
In 2021, a center to process shea nuts was set up in the village of Wadere Madualaso. Some 200 women work here in a cooperative called Nanka Kumina, or We Stick Together. The cooperative has struck a purchase agreement with a Ghana-based company that aims to empower women in this region. As it is harvest season, the women gather and dry as many nuts as they can. Later, they'll cook them to make shea butter. The cooperative has been organic certified. Its processing facility cost around 60,000 euros, most of which came from the international donors, including the EU. Last year's entire production has been almost completely sold.
All the women in the village are pleased. Before, we were always travelling right to the border with Liberia to sell tree bark. We had to leave our husbands and children behind. Now we can stay in the village with our families. We have work and our own money, so we're happy.
The partner firm, Savannah Fruits Company, has a regional office to handle the cooperative's shea butter. International sales are going well thanks to the shea butter's organic certification. Centralizing production on one site was key to the process.
The women used to bring their shea nuts back from the bush and store them in a corner in their house. It was usually the place where they stored chemical fertilizers for their fields or where children would play. The women also processed the nuts at home. But the quality suffered. There was too much contamination when they tried to do it all at home.
Besides the high international demand for organic shea butter, here in the regional center of Dabakala, there is still a brisk trade in tree bark and roots used in traditional medicine. At least 2 big truckloads leave here each week, bound for Ivory Coast's financial capital, Abidjan. Naminata Ouattara used to sell tree bark here and was often away from her family for long periods of time. Now that she is a member of the women's cooperative, that's no longer necessary. She can also afford to buy better food for her family and invest in fish.
We come here every Wednesday when it's market day in Dabakala. Before we never had enough money, but now it's better. I was able to buy 2 crates of fish that I can resell in the village. Through the project, we received 10,000 francs and I used some to buy vegetables.
The extra food is a welcome contribution. Naminata Ouattara's husband, Bele, grows yam and cashew nuts. His other wife also works in the cooperative, and since both women now earn more money, Bele's respect has grown.
My wives helped me buy a sheep for Tabaski, the Feast of the Sacrifice, and they contributed to the purchase of some cattle. My wives have also really helped me to pay for school fees, so I recognize the value of the co-op.
The women are gaining influence in other areas. They often come across fields of yams and cashew nuts illegally planted by local men in their collecting zones. Now, the supervising NGO has allocated them a 30 square kilometer area which is off limits to anyone but the cooperative.
The women who earn their living gathering shea nuts in this area won't allow their husbands or any other people to come in here and plant crops. Our plan is to certify the largest possible area as a biodiversity zone. That will help us to more effectively protect this land and enable its restoration.
The shea trees bring us respect, and in return, we protect them. Now the villagers respect us and value our work.
It's work that not only protects the forest, but also helps women and their families. Proof that environmental protection can benefit everyone.
Staying on the topic of agriculture, we now head over to Rwanda. Farm vehicles make work a lot easier, but the engines are often loud and pollute the air with exhaust fumes. So, is that really progress?
Good question, Sandra. But as it stands, the only option available to many looking to trade their oxen for a tractor is a diesel-powered vehicle. But now there are more environmentally friendly alternatives in Africa, as this project in Rwanda shows.
It's just a normal working day for members of the Dukore cooperative near Kigali. The villagers till their fields by hand. The many helpers are busy for weeks.
Cultivating a large area like this using just hose is difficult. We do it because there's no other options. If we had a cultivation machine, we could produce more with less effort.
There are a few tractors around, but often they are older vehicles that were no longer wanted in Europe. They tend to be noisy and dirty. Diesel is also not always available, and rising fuel costs mean that they are often economically unviable. From the outside, the solution looks remarkably similar. A 2.2-ton tractor with a 27 horsepower engine, but the motor is electrically powered. A German car maker developed this e-tractor prototype along with the University of Kigali and the GIZ German Development Agency.
It's a converted diesel tractor into an electric tractor. You see, we just replaced the diesel engine with an electric motor and put the battery on top of that. And there you see the swapping desk. You see the second battery on this desk. And when you come in here, you can move it forth and back. And then with that, you can release the battery and shove it back and put the full battery on the tractor itself and can then resume working.
The batteries are charged using solar energy. Solar electricity isn't just clean, it can also be used off-grid. Only half of Rwanda is actually connected to the grid. Bernard Mayanzikwiye and his team from the University of Rwanda are working on making the batteries more robust so that the e-tractor can soon go to work on the dusty, sun-baked fields.
Rwanda needs e-tractor for agricultural mechanization. It will be user-friendly because of reducing the pollution. Thirdly, it will maximize the productivity, agricultural productivity.
Rwanda has to increase its agricultural productivity to help feed its rapidly growing population. Longer periods of drought linked to climate change are increasing the pressure to make farming more effective and sustainable. The fact that the e-tractor is intended for use in more remote areas is a particular challenge for the developers in the team of VW engineer Hogalangi.
The main point is to make an electric tractor as simple and easy as possible because it should be easy to operate. And the other thing is, when it is simple, it's easy to maintain and to repair.
To make the tractor suitable for working Rwandan fields, the prototype has to be further improved. So the team of developers traveled through the country, speaking to potential future users.
We want input how the tractor should be designed, what will be the tasks of those tractors, and we also want to take into account some other activities that can be done by that tractor.
And ploughing isn't the only job the tractor should be able to tackle here in Rwanda. Productivity on farming areas can only be increased if other farming jobs can be automated as well. The developers are testing whether it can be harnessed to help irrigate the crops.
Today we are testing the pump being operated on an electric tractor. So you can use it for cultivation using your plow, that could be a disc plow. Then you can also hook up a planter, 2-row, 4-row planter it can pull, then you can use it for planting. And then other tasks that we can use the e-tractor is for spraying, that is your crop protection for pests and diseases.
All tasks that have been carried out manually up to now. Many farmers cannot imagine that the e-tractor is going to be ready anytime soon. But they do realize what a difference it might make.
If there really is such a tractor and it's available to us, it will be seen as a liberator for farmers because we won't have to work so hard to get our work done.
The e-tractor is going to be rolled out in 2024. The idea is that it will be purchased by an entire village rather than an individual farmer. Managed by a cooperative, the vehicle will make a lot of tasks easier.
With over 20,000 inhabitants per square kilometers, Paris is one of the most densely populated cities in Europe that probably feels nice and cozy in colder months. But as temperatures climb as a result of climate change, the city is heating up. So how are Parisians planning to keep their city cool? Our eco reporter took a tour of the town to find out.
Paris, the city of love, has long been a tourist stream. But despite its air of romance, on hot summer days it can feel hard to breathe. Concrete roads and buildings turn the French capital into an urban heat island. Paris has warmed up by 2.3 degrees Celsius on average since 1885, compared to 1.7 degrees in the rest of France, according to a recent study. And so the town hall is now investing tens of millions of euros to help cool down the city.
Bonjour.
Enchantée, Lisa Louis. So this is a map of Paris. Tell me, what is so specific about this city?
On est ici dans une ville qui est historique, qui a son patrimoine.
This is a historic city built for a moderate climate and one of the most densely built cities in the world. That's why it's like an oven, far more so than places spread out over a large area. The Canal Saint-Martin here is already open for swimming. After next year's Olympic Games, we plan to open 3 bathing areas on the Seine River. One plan is to replace concrete with earth that can soak up rainwater and cool down the air. will also insulate public buildings.
Il y a aussi tout un programme de rénovation de nos bâtiments publics municipaux.
Many squares have already gone green, like the Place de la Nation, or this roundabout in the south of Paris, which is being transformed into an urban forest, since trees are also key to cooling down the city. And the River Seine will not only become an open-air swimming pool, it's already making a cooling contribution. This eco-friendly cooling system is called Fraîcheur de Paris, a network of underground water pipes that is connected to water tube systems in over 700 buildings across the city. We pay a visit to one of its main plants, the Centrale Canada.
These pumps push ice-cold water through the system. The water is cooled by refrigeration units which heat up in the process. That heat is dissipated into the Seine. Its water flows through a secondary circuit. This system consumes half as much electricity as a conventional air conditioning unit.
What's more, that electricity comes entirely from renewable energy, mainly from solar panels. Today, the network has 90 kilometers of pipes, and the company plans to triple that over the next 2 decades. Fraîcheur de Paris is already helping to cool places like the Louvre Museum and Paris Town Hall, but air conditioning systems that use river water can't be endlessly extended, says Morgane Colombert, a French expert on urban climate adaptation.
Systems like the Fraîcheur de Paris warm up the river water, and that's only safe up to a certain threshold to protect local biodiversity. So these systems can't cool down an entire city. We have to choose the buildings we'll cool with them.
In the future, Fraîcheur de Paris will also be linked to schools. Some of them are already enjoying the benefits of greener streets and pedestrian zones. And across the city, cars are increasingly sharing the streets with bicycles.
You can already cycle almost all over Paris on large bike highways like this one. And the city will add another 55 kilometers of bike boulevards over the next 3 years.
But not everybody is happy with the bicycle boom, which is leading to more traffic jams in busy areas. That's why planners need to take the needs of critics and local communities seriously.
We need to make sure our plans are accepted, involve local people and explain the initiatives. Planners often focus on the technological side of climate adaptation, but the human factor is also important.
Other plans are less controversial, like this new installation that provides shade when the sun is high to people in a lower income neighborhood in the north of Paris.
It can be up to 10 degrees cooler under the roof, and we've installed a new spray fountain over there. You just need to push this button and it sprays water for about 20 seconds. You feel the water, right? We're installing 24 roofs like this and 73 spray fountains across Paris. They'll help us get through the summer, on top of our existing heat measures. Our heat plan includes regular checking in on vulnerable people and offering spaces, such as in town halls, where they can cool off.
Measures like these will become even more important in the future if summers in Paris continue to heat up.
I must say, I quite like the idea of Paris cooling down even further with more shade, more spray fountains and more bike lanes. That way the city will certainly stay enjoyable, even with temperatures continuing to go up.
Many places here in Africa are trying to make cities, communities and whole countries fit for climate change. For its part, Ghana is struggling with garbage, which is known to pollute the soil, water and air and cause lasting damage to the environment and people.
Only 10% of Ghana's waste is collected and undergoes some form of treatment. To find a comprehensive solution to address these challenges, a hybrid waste-to-energy plant has been built. The country has great hopes for this pilot project.
This waste sorting facility is still something of a novelty in Ghana, but the plant here does even more. Some waste is used to produce electricity and compost.
Facilities like this come out to be able to help us and be able to collect our waste and make good use of the waste. In a way, you realize that one of them has to do with job creations. So people in the community will now be engaged in the collection of the waste, which will actually be sent to the community to actually be utilized.
The facility is serving a crucial purpose. Ghana's waste problem is huge. 14,000 tons of garbage are generated every day, and only 10% of that is collected. It's a problem that results in greenhouse gas emissions, the spread of disease, and even contributes to flooding. And in fact, waste is a valuable resource once it's processed. Solomon Anwere is a farmer. He and his son now use compost made of organic waste on their maize fields.
Before I started using the compost on my crops, my yield was very low, but it's improved significantly. I've harvested a lot of maize this year. Last year I had about 10 bags, but this year it's increased to 20 bags. So the compost has been helpful.
The compost is made in the hybrid waste-to-energy plant near the city of Kumasi, where waste is also used to produce electricity from biogas. The solar-powered plant produces 400 kilowatt, enough to supply 500 households, the first of its kind in Ghana. It costs 5.8 million euros and was mostly funded by the German government. The plant was also developed with the help of German know-how. There is no shortage of waste that can be used. It's brought in from the town of Gyankoba.
So in a day, we process 10 tons, and then at the end of the day, we are expected to obtain about 50 cubic meters of gas.
The plant doesn't handle metals, but plastic waste gets shredded and sent elsewhere for recycling. The organic waste is used to produce biogas with the help of bacteria in this reactor. In the yellow building behind it, the biogas is converted into electricity by a generator. The plant will eventually employ a team of 50 people. For now, 20 people work here, including local experts in waste treatment who are getting further training in biogas technology from the German partners. For the time being, the energy produced here isn't being fed into the national grid. The amount of power produced by the plant isn't yet enough for the national transmission system.
Currently, we are looking at scaling up the production of energy from the biogas aspects to have more of the energy produced from the biogas aspects as compared to the solar that we have currently on the site, so that we can be connected to the grid, because it's a waste-to-energy project. So such that we have waste that is from the biogas aspect that is being converted to energy. And so the success of it is what we are looking for, that we have more energy that will be produced in the coming months so that it can be connected to the grid.
Until this happens, the electricity produced is used in the waste-to-energy plant itself. And the plant makes biocompost from organic waste in a closely monitored process that takes 30 days.
Say by 2 weeks into it, we have to sample to do analysis on them to see the nutrients build up in the compost. And also when the compost is finally formed, we do analysis to ensure that all the macronutrients are present, heavy metals are absent, hydrogen sulfide are absent.
The biocompost has helped to make Solomon Anwere's farm more eco-friendly, without the need for chemical fertilizers. And he even saves money.
Without this organic compost, I have to spend a lot of money to buy other types of fertilizers, and that's very expensive. Just one bag costs the equivalent of at least 30 euros. So using the organic compost has helped reduce my cost of production.
The waste-to-energy plant near Kumasi is a pilot project. If all goes well, the Ghanaian government plans to finance 10 more across the country.
Good to see that there are growing efforts here in Africa to enhance the resilience of human and environmental systems to climate change and increased uncertainty. I am Sandra Kahonza Twinogyo signing off from Kampala, right here in Uganda.
Bye, Sandra. It was a pleasure hosting the show as always with you. And thanks to you, our viewers. If you also enjoyed our program or have ideas or good initiatives, write to us on social media. We love hearing from you. I'm Chris Elam saying bye-bye from Nigeria.